All right, well, welcome everybody to this discussion about the consortium, and this is going to be a little bit different than many of the sessions that we run and the way we talk about things. I'm really not going to spend a lot of time today diving into kind of the methodologies, the work that we have going on, the things that are in process. Really want to talk more about how you leverage the consortium resources, both as public resources and as members, the different levels of access that people have to the information that gets produced by the consortium. And so it's going to be focused more on kind of how you engage with us, how you can leverage all the things we have, as opposed to diving into what's going on with KCS or intelligence swarming or the discussions that we're having around AI and leadership and things like that. I will use those things as examples to show how you can access content and why you might want to access the content that we have and the resources we have. But this is definitely more about getting success by leveraging us as opposed to specifically what we're talking about. And with me today is Kelly, Sarah, and Christina from the consortium, and they'll be able to answer questions in the chat, putting links to things in the chat. So feel free to ask questions as we go. And I'm happy to answer things at the end as well if we have time. So a little bit about the consortium. We are a nonprofit alliance of companies. And when I think about describing the consortium, it has always been one of the things that can be a bit of a challenge because we do so many things and we are so unique in the industry. But thinking about us as a practitioner-led think tank feels really right to me because we are an alliance of customer-centric companies that are looking at the future of services, the future of engagement, and where we're going. And it is this group of member companies that comes together to co-create the models, the methodologies, the things that we work on. But it is very much led by practitioners out there in the world, solving real world problems, looking at the future of where our industry is going, looking at trends. And it is very much them that drive this think tank mentality that we have. We're also very much an open source innovation engine. We really truly lean into the share and learn model. So as we go out and as staff of the consortium work with hundreds of companies and thousands of people over the course of a year, we collect a lot of information from all these different sources. And as we create models and publish them, we offer a lot back out to the world through free access. And these are methodologies and proven things that solve real world problems because we're capturing them from people that are solving real world problems. And then all of that gets iterated on through member only exchanges that are always iterating on the bodies of work in this constantly changing environment. I think one of the things that I enjoy most about working with all these forward-thinking companies and member companies is they are not reacting to changing environments, they're defining the changing environment. So a lot of the companies that we work with, it's not about how are we going to react to what AI is doing and how do we leverage AI. They're designing what the future looks like with these technologies. So they're constantly changing within the environment, but they're also setting these environments and setting these change initiatives. So I very much consider us an open source innovation engine. As we innovate on things, as we create things, we then offer them back out to the world for consumption by anybody. And we're really a trusted resource at the consortium. Anything that you see published by us comes from real world, industry proven people doing things. And so, as a not for profit, our entire existence is about advancing the services industry, advancing how we're delivering value to our customers, how we're delivering value back into a company, and what are the things that we need to do over the next 5, 10, 15 years to continue to advance the industry. And we try to do this without upselling catch-all best practices. You actually won't see anything in our documentation called a best practice because as soon as we call something a best practice, we find a company that's doing something different, innovative, and better. So, we're not out there trying to sell the idea that we have the best practices. What we're out there doing is saying we have proven methodologies and operational models based on real world experiences of our member companies and the industry at large. And we offer, like I said, so much of this back out to the community. So what are we trying to achieve? And what we're trying to achieve is how we then think about structuring a lot of the content and a lot of the work that we have. So, we're really about how are we going to optimize customer and company value and success, leveraging our organizational knowledge. And this is what KCS is. KCS is a constantly maturing body of work. It is always being updated, always being changed based on what's going on in the industry. We're in the process right now of making major changes to it and major reorganization of it to really react to where we are in the current world. But KCS is about how do we leverage this organizational knowledge across the entire enterprise. It is not just about services anymore. It really is about the entire enterprise and the entire enterprise being successful with knowledge. How do we accelerate our collaboration, problem solving, and employee upskilling as AI is starting to have real world impacts on delivering services, engaging customers, finding new ways to do very interesting things? We really need to change the way our organizations are working. We need organizations to be far more collaborative across the enterprise to solve problems. We need our employees' skills changing and their competencies changing in this new world. Intelligent swarming is truly about restructuring the way we think about our people and getting work to people in the most efficient way possible. Along with thinking about our organizational change, as managers, as leaders in organizations, we need to be driving growth of our people, growth of our company. We need to be thinking about productivity and efficiency gains and employee retention. The body of work around leadership and adaptive organization really focuses in on how do we do these things and what does it look like in this adaptive world to be a leader and driving change and driving growth and employee retention. As always, we need to center our customers in the service and support experience for the entire company. And our customer experience models are really foundational bodies of work, thinking about the demand model, and we're seeing demand and how companies and customers are interacting is shifting pretty dramatically these days. The value erosion curve, which has been around for a long time, thinking about, well, where do we need to invest in order to interact with companies in the right way? Thinking about value, and we have the value stack, which is a foundational model, which is being poked at by leaders in terms of thinking about value that we deliver to the customer and value that we deliver back into the company are very interconnected, but they're actually different. And we need to think about those as different things. So lots of work being done around our customer experience models, but they are all about how do we center the customer in everything that we do around our support experience and our company experience. And finally, as we think about all these AI-powered automation technologies and all these AI-powered tools out there, how do we leverage them to achieve unmatched efficiency and unmatched growth? And the predictive customer engagement model started that trend many, many years ago. And really in the last 2 or 3 years, it has completely exploded with all the new AI technologies that we have at our fingertips. The naming convention predictive customer engagement may change as AI is pushing our boundaries well beyond becoming predictive with our customers. But today, the predictive customer engagement is a way we think about those AI-powered technologies. So as I go through talking about some of the resources we have, how to leverage them, this is roughly how we start thinking about and organizing, achieving outcomes in the bodies of work that relate to those outcomes. But they all interconnect, they all build on each other. It's hard to do one without thinking about the other because we are a system. Our organizations are systems. And if we think about them as systems, it's hard to do one thing without interacting with another. But as we go through this, you'll see the way we name things, the naming conventions we use very much aligned to these outcomes. So engaging with the consortium, it really is about high impact activities. And if we shift the way we kind of interact and the way we think about leveraging the consortium's resources to what is it that we're trying to achieve and what activities can we do to drive those, you're going to see some new language being used by us, which hopefully allows people to better connect with what they're trying to achieve with the things the consortium is doing. So we are about solving your toughest challenges. You can drive agendas and in our interactive forums focused on topics that matter most to you. So if you think about coming to our annual Service Innovation Summit in open space, you get to drive the agenda and the topics that we're going to talk about. And those are things that are the most important to you, your toughest challenges in the moment, to tap into a global network of people to solve those problems. Engaging with the consortium absolutely allows you to implement our proven models much faster. So you can leverage the deep captured knowledge and expertise for implementing things much more successful than doing it on your own. There is a huge network of knowledge and people that are super passionate about KCS or intelligence swarming or AI that love to share what they're doing. And a lot of that has been captured in our resources. Getting access to exclusive intelligence. So we are constantly capturing new industry trends, what's the cutting edge going on out there, and kind of pumping that back out into the industry. So accessing all this exclusive intelligence that you may not have insights to within your own companies. I think one of the biggest things that the consortium is all about is tapping into this global network of people. And as we think about where we are in our own companies, we often get a bit of tunnel vision in terms of the problems we're facing today, what's going on within our company. The consortium lets you think about things and tap into a much larger network, exchanging high-level strategies, detailed approaches to solve specific things, emerging practices, being driven by industry-leading companies and industry-leading people. Accelerating careers. And Brad Smith is on. He's on the board of directors for the consortium. And I remember being in a meeting with Brad many, many years ago where he said what the consortium is actually about is developing the leaders of the future. And I fully believe and have experienced that engaging with a consortium, engaging with people around the consortium can accelerate careers because it allows you to tap into opportunities for professional growth by listening to other experienced practitioners, listening to leading executives across the industry that you may not always have the ability to listen to and interact with directly. So absolutely, the consortium can help accelerate careers across the industry. And getting trained and certified, we have lots of different options for training and getting certified in our proven methodologies where you can show your level of mastery. So I'll talk a little bit about training and certification as we go through. But engaging with a consortium is about driving high impact activities for yourself, for your company, and for your customers. And if we think about how all the information we have can be accessed and how you can leverage it, I think this is a great way to think about if I'm looking, I really need some advice from somebody outside of my company. How do I tap into that global network of people? What are some of the trends that people are seeing that I can learn about? And what are some of the cutting edge things that maybe my company's doing that I can gain some perspectives on by other people? I've been tasked with implementing intelligence swarming. Well, how can I accelerate that? How can I make sure that I'm not making mistakes that other people made? So all these high impacting activities can have real world impacts on your implementations and the way that you're going about your daily job. So I think this is an important part of engaging with a consortium. And the more that you put into engaging with a consortium, the more you're going to get out of the consortium. All right, so to shift a little bit now to thinking about how do we structure and organize the content, how can you engage? I look at the engagement with the consortium in kind of three ways. And first is learning, which is very much content focused. So being able to access information from all the captured experiences across a wide range of topics. I know the consortium is most known for KCS, but we do a lot of things that are not related to KCS, a lot of things that are across all of the trends in the industry. So how can I learn about those things, which is very much how do I tap into the content that the consortium has? Once I've learned these things, how do I apply them? So this is about execution level engagement. So I've learned about the methodologies, I've learned about the industry trends. Now I need to implement with success. And I can do that through experienced change makers and tapping into people as well as a second level of super detailed knowledge and content around all the different things that we do. So how do I apply these things now internal to my company? And we are the Consortium for Service Innovation. So how do we innovate? And so how are we co-creating the future of services? And this is really about being a leader and being an influencer. How do I take and think about the organizational value across the enterprise? What are the things that we need to do to change the industry and where the industry is going? How do we tap into all these new technologies? So what kind of innovation things are going on? Today, I am mostly focusing on things in what I would say is the learn and the apply area, and a little bit less on the innovate area. So when we think about learn, there is a wealth of content on our website, and it's in the main site, our digital library, and through our online training. There is, dare I say, thousands of pages of content out there to read. And so I'll show a little bit of how we've organized it and we think about it. But one of the great things to do is actually ask the consortium staff questions about where you might find something, because we have a bit of a map in our heads of where all the things live on our sites. When we think about the execution level, it's diving into those operational details in the digital library by attending events, tapping into instructor-led training, instructor-led design workshops. So accelerating success is about diving into the details and leveraging the instructor-led training and design workshops to speed things up. Innovate is very much a people-centric, high engagement activity, really talking to people at leading companies and leading thinkers around the industry about what's going on, challenging the norm, challenging what we think has always been true, and pushing the boundaries of thinking. But it's very much about engagement and being present. So across these three layers of learn, apply, and innovate, there is access and content available for everyone, regardless if you're a consortium member company or not. And then there is additional levels of engagement and information available for member companies. And they kind of build on each other. But again, being an organization that loves loopy models, activities that take place in any one of these areas feeds into the other areas. And as we kind of move from learn into apply and innovate, the available resources for member companies grows somewhat exponentially. When we think about learn, and the content and the things that are in the learn area, it's mainly self-discovery of content. So there's not a lot of, human interaction for guided learning and guided success. This is mostly about self-discovery of content. In apply, we start to shift to guided success and tapping into much more deep knowledge and now people. So how do we start to have interactions with humans to help us achieve success in the apply area? Innovate is very much about curiosity, tapping into other people's expertise, building deep relationships, very much discovery. It's very hard to be innovative if you're not curious. If you believe that you're solving something perfectly, then that's probably not going to lead to much innovation. So innovation is about listening, learning from other people, asking curious questions, and building deep relationships across the industry. So when we think about the resources in Learn, the majority of those resources are available to the public in the form of overviews, blog posts, KCS in action calls, the online training. The difference for members here is participating in, but having access to all the latest in-process changes. So I'll use the recently released PAR 2.0 as an example, where PAR 2.0 is now available as a public resource, but members were working on that for months to make the shift to the PAR 2.0. And so if you were a member company, you had access to the work being done on PAR 2.0 as it was being developed. Once it was kind of completed, validated, and tested by member companies, then it was published as a public resource. So it's kind of an example of members have access to in-process changes. The public has access to all of the kind of finished content. In Apply, we have the methodologies and frameworks that are offered through Creative Commons licensing. Instructor-led training and design workshops are available for everybody. For members, though, we now offer much more extensive detailed knowledge in the form of videos, all the presentations that have been done by members, downloadable templates that can be used, very specific guidance on how to get past roadblocks, certain challenges, where we see companies that struggle the most, like very specific guidance, and just greater detail in general. When we start thinking about accessing people, we have the member Slack workspace, member-only meetings, member working sessions. We set up a lot of one-on-one discussions between companies. It is really exciting to see a public KCS in action call or something that shows a very mature company that's doing something amazing with knowledge domain analysis. But sometimes having a one-on-one discussion with somebody who's maybe 3 or 6 months ahead of you in the process is super valuable in terms of, okay, well, this is what I need to accomplish in the next 6 months. What are the roadblocks I'm going to hit, and how do I get past those, and how do I learn from somebody who's a little bit further ahead of me? So a big part of accessing to people is those one-on-one discussions or small group discussions. And also access to the consortium staff. The consortium staff has a very unique view of what's going on around the world because we talk to so many people. We see so many different ways people are implementing things. We talk to a lot of different executives. And so having some access to the staff, reaching out to us for one-on-one discussions is a big part of the member experience when we start to get into the apply area. For innovating, we have available to everybody is the annual Innovation Summit. I kind of highlighted the open space here. I talked about open space before as well. If you haven't experienced open space, it is an absolute amazing day at the summit, and it's I guess open space is a methodology, a facilitation methodology. But it is about building the agenda based on what people in the room want to talk about. And the topics that come out of open space often lead to follow-up meetings, often lead to sometimes new bodies of work. So open space is one of the things we use to really tap into the community and what the community is caring about. And the newest resources area of the website, we often post information after one of our innovation labs or a meeting to kind of talk about some of the things that are going on, and we make those publicly available. For members in Innovate, right, again, it's really engagement in our innovation labs, tapping into the academic research that we do and some of the academic organizations that we partner with, working teams and working groups, exploratory events, our leadership meetings, executive discussions. So very much focused on bringing people together to have interesting discussions. All right, so how do we organize all this? So this is kind of the meat and potatoes of how things are structured. That is, the picture is an open space grid from one of our annual summits, which is chaotic yet very organized. It's a fun time. So how we do our knowledge organization, there's really two main places that we store content. There is the main serviceinnovation.org website, and then the digital library. So the main site is focused on mainly high-level overviews, getting to understand what's behind the methodologies, getting to understand what some of the recent works are. And the digital library is much more structured content delivery for learning about things at the second level, tapping into the methodologies and practices, and doing some more deep dive work. So I know today most people aren't just about going and perusing through websites to figure out what's there and learning it. We start by using a search engine like Google or some other one, right, that gives me a snippet of exactly what I'm looking for. I would encourage people to come and play around and poke through the main site and kind of see what some of the content is that's available there. So we have our menu bar, where we talk about KCS, intelligent swarming. You can have access to everything. I'm going to use AI and knowledge as an example. Obviously, AI and knowledge is a fairly hot topic. So from the main site, right, if we dive into the AI and knowledge a little bit, we can get into the AI implementation essentials, which is where we are capturing and presenting back out some of the latest things going on with implementing AI. But it's not going to talk specifically about, oh, you should use this AI technology to solve this problem. It's more about how do I go about implementing an AI solution, whether it's I'm applying it to KCS, I'm applying it to intelligent swarming, I'm applying it to efficiency gains, wherever you're applying it, how do we think about it? But it doesn't just go over kind of, soft top level marketing type words. The AI Essentials site dives into as well some of the key phases for your AI implementation, action items to be taken. So it's not just, a marketing page. We dive into these things enough that you can kind of gain insights into what member companies are doing and how they've approached these problems and how they're approaching AI implementations. And then I'll show a little bit later the next level of detail that members have access to. If we flip over to the digital library, which is where the, like I said, the meat and potatoes of our content are, this is where we're offering our methodologies through Creative Commons attribution, non-commercial 4.0 international licensing, which basically means anybody can use these models internal to a company. They just can't use them and sell them and make money off of them without having a commercial license with the consortium. But we offer all of these things through this licensing so that as we learn from member companies, build models, we can publish those back out for the world to use. So in the digital library under KCS is a wealth of information that's available for everyone. So we have our KCS V6 documentation, our KCS experience and resources, and KCS certification and training. And if we just think about kind of the KCS V6 documentation, if we want to learn a little bit about KCS, we're new to thinking about KCS, or, I've joined a new company and I need to go sell the idea to my executives. There's a lot you can learn in here. If we look at just the principles and core concepts, which are the foundation of KCS, this gives you the background of KCS, the way to think about KCS, and some of the things that you would need to be successful. But in here also dives into the super details of 30 years of captured experiences, which are always being updated in the KCS V6 Practices Guide. If you follow the Practices Guide, you will be successful with KCS. There is absolutely no way somebody who follows the guide won't be successful with KCS. It has been proven to work. And all of this is available to anyone to go deep dive into. I forget how many pages there are in the V6 Practices Guide, but it's very extensive and very much organized to be successful. And there is a lot of effort going on right now for updating KCS for kind of the latest world, which we'll be talking more about at our annual summit. In the experience and resources, this is also where we're capturing kind of additional information that is very usable and valuable if you're implementing KCS. So whether you're talking about evolve loop guidance or KCS adoption and some of the things to think about with KCS adoption, you can kind of see at the bottom of the zoom in bubble here, the PAR 2.0, so process alignment review and the latest public resources on process alignment review. But there's a lot of captured experiences and resources in this section of the digital library that's available for everyone as well. If we switch over and talk a little bit about the member-only wiki, which you can access in the digital library or directly from the main site. Very few people start on our main site, as we have discovered. So I would encourage people to start there and do some exploring. But in the members only wiki is a whole nother level of information and detail structured around, like I started with some of our main ways that we organize the work, whether it's leadership and adaptive organization, KCS, the predictive customer engagement. So we try to organize it into those buckets. But again, there's lots of crossover that takes place. Within the member only wiki, there's still a lot of opportunity to just kind of peruse things and learn. So just highlighting our leadership committee meetings, which we have every year. The last one was in Park City, Utah in December of 2025. And this is a great place to come and just read what's on the mind of industry leaders and what are the things that they're talking about. We started the meeting this year with a question just asking, what are you curious about? What are the things that you're working on? What are the things you care about? And the answers that we get from executives will then help inform some of the work that we're going to do. So when we think about what people in the room said, right, there's a lot of kind of wrestling with or thinking about the pace of transformation, the risk we have of knowledge loss, as people seem to think AI is now actually the way that we generate knowledge, not just the way that we use knowledge. The tension between automation and deep expertise and the amount of deep expertise that we feel we might be starting to lose. There was also a lot of discussions about the, shifting value of support and service organizations to being really strategic intelligence engines, not necessarily support engines, but really those strategic intelligence engines. But these discussions that we have with these leaders are all captured and stored here so that people that are interested in what the leaders are thinking can come in here and kind of read about these things, and then reach out to us if you have questions about what you've read or would like second levels of detail from people in the room. Moving to the apply area and how consortium members have access to a second level of information for really being successful at implementing. I talked about the AI Essentials area of the main website, which is built on the AI Blueprint. And so the AI Blueprint is really a structured guide to thinking about and implementing artificial intelligence, regardless of how you're applying it. It is, again, not going to tell you what tool or technology to use, but what you have to do. One of the biggest roadblocks we're seeing with companies implementing AI is not the technology, right? It's being prepared for the technology and thinking through, where am I going to apply it? How am I going to get my executives on board? And then when I launch it, how do I launch with intent so I don't see a lot of failures? And then it's like anything, right? Needs continuous improvement. The AI Blueprint dives into all of those areas, but it doesn't just talk about them. It offers specific action items for every section and downloadable templates. So we have an AI Blueprint strategy worksheet. So to help, structure and, information you have about the people, the processes, the tools that exist in your environment. How do I prioritize the dozens of playgrounds that are going on around your companies with people playing with AI? Well, how do we prioritize what we move to production? What is the impact it's going to have on us? So templates that can be downloaded to help structure and organize things around AI. So again, it's not just information, but members have access to downloadable worksheets and a whole second level of information around any of the things that we're working on. Another great example for members is the field guide for KCS program management. This was built by pulling together 6 or 7 KCS program managers with years of experience implementing KCS, often at multiple companies. So, all 6 of them have been successful, or 7 of them were successful in implementing KCS, some at multiple companies. And the whole premise of the field guide started with, what do you wish you knew when somebody said to you the first time, go implement KCS? What are the things that you wish you knew? And this group worked for months to build out the KCS program management field guide and a bit of a loopy framework on thinking about these things, but it's just a great resource. And if you're trying to implement KCS or thinking about implementing KCS, as a member, you have access to hundreds of years of experience with implementing these things and thinking about them. So another great resource that is available for members. There's just way too much to cover in terms of all the content that we have in the wiki. I sometimes refer to it as our embarrassment of riches. There's so much in there that sometimes we don't know how to access it. We don't even know what's in there anymore. But there are hundreds of one-hour web sessions, which are presentations, videos, and summaries across a wide range of topics. All the working group material, so things that we're currently iterating on around the bodies of work, concepts, new ideas that are in test. From our innovation labs, the notes, the outputs from those meetings, videos if they're virtual meetings, and all of our annual summit materials dating back to 2017. We actually have later than 2017. But any of the presentations that have been done, videos, The open space outputs are all available in the annual summit materials dating back years and years. And what's funny when you go back and you look at some of the stuff from now 5, 10, even 15, 20 years ago, and you read it, you're like, well, if I change 4 words here, this is actually the exact same thing we're talking about today. So the consortium members are often thinking about things that are 5 to 10 years down the road. It's one of the reasons that today we talk about AI as all of our dreams are finally coming true, because all the things we wish we could have done with automation 10 years ago, we're starting to actually be able to do with automation today. So it's old is new again in a lot of ways when we think about the stuff that's going on around our industry. So to shift to our training and certification and resources that are available, we kind of have 2 ways of engaging with training. We have our self-paced online, which can also be purchased as an unlimited use license for a company, which is really about, learn, right? It's the why and the what behind things. So our digital transformation fundamentals, KCS, V6 fundamentals, the intelligent swarming fundamentals, they're short 45-ish minute online trainings that really are about the why and the what. And then to go into achieving and thinking about the why, the what, and then the how you do something is instructor-led training around the KCS V6 practices, coaching, knowledge domain analysis, intelligence swarming design workshops, and a lot more. There's a lot of instructor-led training available. We have a great network of certified trainers and service providers that you can find and access through the KCS training page for, if you're looking for instructor-led training or even assistance in thinking about these things. We have a great network of people that can help with all of those things, and they're all accessed through the KCS training section of the website. We also have our certifications where you can kind of highlight your level of mastery with KCS or intelligence swarming. The consortium is the only KCS certifying organization, so we're the only ones that are actually certifying on KCS. And the certifications go along with a lot of the trainings. So the KCS V6 fundamental certification goes along with the KCS V6 fundamentals training. And then the practices certification comes after taking one of the instructor-led practices workshops. But it's impressive how many of these we see every day being posted on LinkedIn. And, we have over 10,000 people now that have been certified in KCS, which is a pretty impressive number. So definitely a great way to show off that you're, diving into the things like KCS and intelligence swarming. A huge part of the consortium is people, and all of the work that we do is because of the network of people that we have, the volunteerism almost that comes with a lot of the consortium membership and offering up their experiences and offering up the things that they're working on. I think one of the things that we try to protect very much in the consortium is that it is a bit of a safe space to share what you're working on, share the challenges you're having, and then not be sold back to some solution that is going to solve your problem. And we are very much about building an open, sharing environment where people can come to learn from each other, share what they're working on, and then benefit from those relationships. And a big part of the consortium differentiator in my mind is that we are about capturing and reflecting back the experiences of the people that are actually doing the work. And again, this isn't about developing best practices. It's taking real world experiences and then sharing those back out for the benefit of everybody. And I like to talk about through shared story, because it is through us sharing our stories that we get to do this work and we get to reflect things back out into the industry. And as automation, as digital technologies are taking over, as it's easier and easier to go into one of these generative AI tools and have it write an email for you or tell you why something is the way it is, connecting with people and sharing stories is becoming a more and more critical part of our experience in order to move things forward. So the consortium is absolutely a people-first organization. So how do we engage people? We call everything an event. So, we could have a meeting with 3 people and we would call it an event. So if you hear me use the word event 900 times, it's basically a catch-all for anything we do with people. But we host a myriad of different interactions over the course of a year. Our annual Innovation Summit is where we dive into innovative concepts and practical applications. It covers a broad range of topics and interactions. Um, Webinars, so these are both about specific critical challenges people are trying to face, exchanging ideas, talking about new ideas. They cover the gauntlet of anything. KCS practitioner webinars are very much focused on KCS, obviously, but what is something that a specific company is doing with implementing KCS? Is it success they're seeing with coaching, success they're seeing with AI, successes they're seeing with upskilling people, successes they're seeing in self-service? So very much focused on, some aspect of KCS. Our innovation labs, we bring together people either virtually or in person for 2 to 3 day events. They're very interactive, focused on sometimes a very specific topic. So we have one coming up where it's very much focused on the evolving evolve loop, and talking, details about the evolve loop. And sometimes they're super exploratory around how do you define value in this new world, and what are people talking about? So they really are all over the place, but it's about getting people together to talk about something in a setting with, anywhere from 15 to 25 people. And then our working teams, this is where we take something, we start iterating on it, testing it, and detailing out the operational specifics. So I talked about PAR 2.0. The team that worked on PAR 2.0 was a working team that came together to look at the things going on, test ideas, build spreadsheets, and really get into the working details of a concept. They kind of go from broad to very specific focused in the way we engage across them. That is a guidance. There are things that will happen at Summit that are incredibly focused and specific, but in general, things go from broad discussion down to very focused. We also have our leadership committee and our executive symposium, which are invite-only events. And this is about engaging with industry leaders. And so our leadership committee is about exploring topics that leaders are focused on in, say, the next 12 to 18 months. And that sets the tone for the consortium's work in the coming year. That was the example I showed a little bit earlier in our member wiki. And then the executive symposium is about discussing industry trends from today and several years into the future. I like to refer to it as, what is the nature of work going to look like as we move forward? So the executive symposium is a bit more exploratory, a bit pushing the boundaries and going out several years into the future. For the Innovation Summit, that's open to anybody that wants to come. Our webinars, they can be a mix. Some are member only, some are for everyone. The KCS practitioner webinars are generally available for everyone to attend. Innovation labs, working teams, the leadership committee, and executive symposiums are member-only events. And so since those are very much focused on things that are member value and why membership is so important. A couple more resources that are available for members to kind of dive into connecting with people. So our Slack workspace, we have over 800 people in the consortium Slack workspace. There are several channels in there where people can ask questions, post books that they've read, talk about really whatever they want to talk about. It's a very interactive place to be. And then an example of some of the working groups, we have a new working group around measuring and communicating value, which is coming out of a previous body of work that's been going on for several years around measuring service success or self-service success. That has matured. And this is the next iteration of that. And Christina Rosen on the staff is leading this group. But we have about 29 people from 16 different member companies meeting every 2 weeks to dive into how do we communicate and measure value in the new world across different audiences. So it's already very impressive, some of the way that it's being structured and shifting our thinking about value as we move into the next 10 years. We host somewhere around 70 events and meetings a year, which makes me tired every time I kind of look at that and think about all those things that we do there. Um, Definitely check the events calendar often. If you're not on the either member newsletter or the community newsletter, signing up for that is a great way to kind of get a monthly, I think we do about monthly email that highlights some of the upcoming events, but the events calendar is always being updated. We have a couple member only events coming up. We have one with Ping Identity later this week on some of their agentic pilots and gap analysis that they're doing with AI. Some really interesting things going on at Ping. Ping is always doing interesting things. So this is one of the latest things that they're presenting on. And then we have an in-person meeting taking place in London. It's actually full, but if you're a member and you have interest in attending that, reach out to Kelly or myself and we can speak to you about it. And that's the evolution of the Evolve Loop. And then in April, we have the Service Innovation Summit taking place in Scottsdale, Arizona, and that is going to be a absolutely phenomenal event. But check the calendar; we're always adding things. We're always adding public events. We're always adding new member events. So it's a resource to use to engage with the consortium. So I kind of wanted to end on some of the things that we're going to be exploring in 2026 and themes that we've been hearing. One of the main ones is around AI. I'm sure you're all shocked to hear that that's a big theme for 2026. But it really is shifting to making AI practical, trustworthy, and valuable. So now that we are kind of moving out of the dream world of what AI is going to do, what is it practically going to do? Which is pushing the need for knowledge across the enterprise and thinking about knowledge and knowledge management in a new light. Scaling all of these things with measured outcomes. So we've had several members that are talking about all the great pilots they've done and successes they've seen. And then when it scales out to everybody, nobody's using it. And now what do we do that nobody's using what we've built and published? And we're not sure how to measure the actual outcome because according to some of our calculations, this is costing us far more money than our previous self-service tool. So how do we actually scale and measure these things and measure the outcomes? And, AI fatigue is real. And what are the missed expectations? So the expectations have been so high about how it's going to transform our business models. And so far, we haven't had one member company really say that it is transforming their business model. It is absolutely transforming some of the operational things that they're working on. It is uncovering great things. But what is this missed expectation and AI fatigue, and what's the reality look like? So this will be a big theme for 2026. I've probably mentioned some of the shifting business value a couple times now, but measuring our outcomes based against the value, which is a little bit what that working group is starting to poke at. But as we have shifting business value and we need to measure those outcomes, what does that look like? And we know that the customer and business value propositions are not the same thing. They're very, very connected, but they're not the exact same thing. We're seeing massive changing demand models. And what does it mean to realize efficiency in the new demand models? And then how do we do the return on investment in the models that we're implementing? And how do we justify the investments for what we need? AI has been touted, right, as an operational efficiency gain, something that's going to allow us to cut costs and do everything automatic. Well, we need quite a bit of investment to keep the stuff running. And what does it mean to return on investment for these things? And how do we justify those investments? A big topic across the industry. And finally, what are the emerging roles and organizational change that we need? The impacts of AI are starting to change the roles and the skills that we need in our organizations. We've been looking at the kind of shifting value of support and people and where we need to apply our people. We need our people to have deep expertise and high relationship skills. And so how do we shift that as AI does take more and more of kind of the day-to-day tasks away from us? The way we organize, the way we manage are outdated. So our management hierarchies have outlived their usefulness. And what does that actually look like in the new world? And what is this great leadership opportunity in the age of AI? And there is quite a bit of opportunity for leaders in this new age to shift the way we think about business. So these are some of the themes that we'll be exploring as we go through 2026. So that's kind of what I had to share today. I hope everybody has a great 2026. It is shaping up to be quite an interesting year with amazing things being done across our industry, real impact starting to be seen with AI, but also the recognition that our people are what makes all this successful. And so, how do we double down on our people in this age of AI?